You know, I think many anglers have a bucket list of places that they'd like to go fishing. And for me, when I start thinking about ice fishing, one of my bucket list destinations is Lake Erie. Now, the problem with Lake Erie is obviously it's a big body of water, but it's far enough south that you don't always get real good ice out there. And I'm just not one of those guys who's going to go out in 2 or 3 inches of ice. So I've heard a few things that are giving us a window of opportunity here. First of all, it's pretty nice weather, at least for the drive out there. Secondly, I've heard there's about 10 inches of ice, so that's plenty to run our snowmobiles out on. And third, the big walleyes are biting. So I'm meeting up with fellow Nitro pro, Rhodes. Now, Ronnie doesn't fish on the ice very much there, but he actually guides on Lake Erie in the summer. So we're gonna go out and learn a few things together. I quick stopped at the store here to pick up a few bigger jigging spoons. But me and Ronnie are gonna go out and do a little exploring. We're gonna try and find some big walleyes, and we're gonna try and show you the next bite.
Just looking for the next bite, next bite, just looking for the next bite.
We'll continue to show you the next bite.
As one of the Great Lakes, Lake Erie is obviously a huge body of water, but its immensity can mean different things when comparing open water fishing to ice fishing, specifically in regards to 2 factors.
Hey Keith, we got some fish coming up a little bit.
We'll catch it.
First, locating walleyes is one thing when you can speed graph out of a boat, but doing so with an ice drill is hard work, to say the least.
Well, he railed that. There we go.
The second factor is actually above all other considerations, and that is navigating the ice safely.
I'll catch one.
But open water experience does translate to ice fishing.
1, 2, 3. All right.
And that is where professional walleye angler Keith Cavallas and Nitro Boats team member Ron Rhodes are looking to as a guide for where to not only start drilling, but to drill with a purpose.
As always, when you come to Lake Erie, it can be a little intimidating. I mean, look at how big this place is. It goes for miles and miles. And one of the things people have got to understand when they come out here is, you know, why you would want to fish this side of the lake.
Well, basically, this is where the fish are born. They come up, they breed on the reefs. They got the river to go to, Maumee. They got Detroit River, and you got West Sister over here. And these fish, they start here, they're born here. They take off, they go all the way to Ashtabula
In the summer.
and then they come back here to do it all over again.
And we're kind of intercepting them here. We're actually between the Bass Islands and Toledo over here.
Right.
When you're picking a flat like this, the one thing you might want to consider, and I've seen this in other places too, and I'm sure you have too, is if you see behind us where the ice is heaving up, a lot of times the fish like to hang around them. So even though it's a mud flat, you can be a little bit specific, but give them a little time. It's a big area. There's big walleyes, and if you wait them out, you're gonna get them. Ron! I think I got a good one, man.
Oh man, look at that rod.
Feels really heavy. He's just pounding his head down there. If you can grab that transducer.
Yeah, let me get that out of your way, bud.
It was just amazing. I actually brought this fish a good 10 feet off the bottom.
Oh wow.
Just kind of kept jiggling it,
Followed
and
up on ya.
he cracked it, and then he went right down to the bottom again. There's the swivel. Oh, there's his head. You see him down there, Ronnie?
Oh,
That's a good one. That's a good one. Get him, Ronnie. Get him. Thank you.
Look at that big girl.
Look at that beast.
Oh my gosh, Lake Erie beauty.
And I tell you what, I really had to work this fish because it kind of came in on the bottom, and I worked it up a little and it was kind of uninterested. I worked it up higher.
Yeah.
I swear I got it. We're in 21 feet of water. I bet you I got all the way up to 10 or 11 feet under the surface.
Wow.
And then it just rifled it.
Ramboed it, huh?
But I got a good hook set on him, and a little green and silver spoon there. Look at the gut on that thing, huh?
Oh my gosh, look at it.
I say get the kid out here and start watching that and learn how to coax these fish, and it is just like a video game.
The next bite is brought to you by Mercury, #1 on the water. Amsoil, performance for serious adventure. Tracker Boats, fish the finest. Bass Pro Shops, your adventure starts here. Berkeley, catch more fish. Mustad, stay sharper longer. Lowrance, find, navigate, dominate. Motor Guide trolling motors engineered for anglers. Strike King, legacy of domination for 50 years. And Power Pole, swift, silent, secure. Being able to actually see what's happening under the ice using Lowrance Elite LCD sonar units is playing a big role in how Keith Cavaius,
Man, I mean, I just got really lucky to glance down and just see something different on that unit because it keeps a little bit of a memory on it. I knew something was going on, popped it one time, and then he popped me.
and Ron Rhodes
Oh yeah!
are able to go a little further with triggering these big Lake Erie ice walleyes to bite.
Oh, look at that. There's a solid 6-pounder. Getting ready for the spawn this year. Get this out of here. There we go. Let's take this and put it to the side. There you go. Nice, nice fish.
While carefully judging this February ice on the western side of Lake Erie.
Oh, there's one. There's a blob. Whoa, hey Kate.
What?
Come here, give me a hand.
Keith and Ron are extending the pre-spawn walleye bite,
Oh yeah, look at that.
a time when these migrating fish are at their biggest in weight.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, he's a good one. Oh, he's a monster. Bring him a little higher. Got him.
By using a combination of jigging glide baits on one rod
God, that fish has got to be pushing 29, maybe even 30 incher.
Yeah.
Huh?
and using jigging spoons on the other,
She's getting
This
fat.
time of year, that's the deal. This time of year, you just get
Right.
these fish that are unbelievably fat.
Yeah.
in around 20 to 21 feet of water by visually targeting pushed up ice to initially help offset the structureless bottom of this vast mudflat.
Oh, did he hit it? That was a good hit. He actually came in and played around a long time on the screen. Finally, I just kind of coaxed it above him a little. It's a totally different head shake. It's not a shake at all. It's just, That's really key when you're fighting these big fish. Don't be afraid to put that reel and back reel and just take your time, because a lot of times ice fishing lures don't have nearly as big a hooks on them, so you don't want to put too much pressure on those fish. I only got 10-pound test line. This one could be bigger than 10-pound. There's the swivel. That means I'm about 2 feet from success. Ooh, I see him down there. I see him there. Come on, right up in here. Ooh, that was sweet of you. Thank you. That was so nice. He kind of just turned his head and cruised right up there. What a fish. Holy man. Golly, that is definitely a bucket list fish there. I mean, that's probably one of the biggest fish I've ever caught in the ice. It's got to be the biggest fish. And look at how he gobbled this spoon in there. But I basically saw him come in on the depth finder. I had to work him up a little. He came about 3 feet off. And then he just hung around there. I could tell he was there, but he was just hanging around, looking, and all of a sudden, my line practically went slack. He must have kind of hit it coming up. Oh man, there it is right there. A little, silver and green just really seems to be important. I think green more than anything out here, but what a nice fish. Lake Erie monster there. I mean, we catch them sometimes in the fall, in the summer like this, but they aren't nearly as heavy because these fish are full of eggs and full of fat for the winter. Big as they get right now, big as they get. All right, big girl, let's see how you're gonna do here in the water. I think you're gonna be all right. What do you think? You gonna wave goodbye? Oh yeah. So let me talk a little bit about the tackle that we're using to catch all these big fish out on Lake Erie. We're using a couple different terminal tackle. One is just jigging spoons, thin, slender spoons like this. Seems like they got to have silver on them. And then if they got green, that's good too. And then the other thing we're using is just glide baits like this. You'll notice in both cases, load them up with lots of minnows. Whether it's 2 on here or 3 on here, it seems like a lot of minnows twitching and twittering down there is really a good thing. Then what I've got on my rod is I've got a leader here of 10-pound test fluorocarbon. So nice heavy fluorocarbon. We're going after big fish. Down here I've got a swivel, then a small end swivel to connect the fluorocarbon to my main line, which in this case I'm using 10-pound nanofill. Again, you want to use a heavy enough line out here to get these really big fish in. And then for rods, what you want is a medium action rod, but one with a good firm backbone. So I'm using either my 28-inch or my 32-inch medium rods. So a little heavier equipment than I'm used to fishing, but I tell you what, when you come out to Lake Erie, that's what you need.
The Real Deal, real fishing information from real fishing experts, presented by AmSoil.
Many of you are used to seeing me in my big tournament boat, the ZV21. You know, it's kind of a fire-breathing dragon, 300 horse Verado on it, goes super fast, handles the rough water great. But for many people, that's just, quite frankly, too big of a rig. But at the same point, people want to have a big enough rig that they can get out on some of the bigger bodies of water, the big reservoirs, the Great Lakes, because quite frankly, a lot of times, big water holds big walleyes. So we worked with Nitro to come up with a smaller version of my tournament boat, and that's what I'm standing in here. This is called the ZV18. So the cool thing about the ZV18 is they actually took a lot of the same components that are in my tournament boat and put them right in this boat. Same size live well. It's got the same back compartment storage. It's got the same net storage. It's got the same rod storage. Got the same cooler in it. So a lot of the same components are put right into this boat. But the really cool thing is, if you look at the bottom of the boat, which is important for performance, that's where a lot of the things remained identical. The strakes, the flares, the reverse chines, the padded V, the cutback, the setback, and the hull. All of those things are still on the bottom of the smaller version of my tournament boat. So when you get out on that big body of water, or any body of water for that matter, you're going to be able to get out to the fish, even in rough conditions. Big back area here for trolling, big front deck for getting up on the bow mount and doing all of your casting or dragging techniques. So like I said, I love my ZV21. It's like the perfect tournament boat, but if you need a little smaller package, still want to get out on the big water, this ZV18 is a great boat to look at. Hey, welcome in my shack here. Talk a little bit about the jigging cadence that we're using out here on Lake Erie to get these big walleyes. It's a lot more subdued than I thought it would be. It seems like you work it too hard, they actually scare the fish away. So what I do is when I put my lines down, I drop my rod tips down, boom, I hit the bottom. I'm jigging very, very close to the bottom. I got two different baits on. One's a jigging spoon and one's a gliding bait. And I'm actually working them two different ways, not a lot different, but slightly different. On the jigging spoon, what I'm doing is I'm actually raising it up much higher and a little bit quicker. So higher and quicker. And that seems to be fluttering down a little bit better and attracting the fish. On the glide bait, interestingly enough, I'm barely moving that up and then just letting it curl down. I don't even think it's swimming much to the side. That's how slow I'm pulling it up. But on that drop back down, it's kind of gliding down, letting all those minnows kind of twitch and move around down there. So two different styles. Stay close to the bottom, but then once you do see a fish come in, it's very common to try and lift that fish up. And if they chase after that bait, it seems like, again, if you work it too hard, it scares them away. But if you just make a few little 2 or 3 pops and then just hold it, a lot of times that's when they hit it. So a little bit more subtle out here in Lake Erie than I would expect, but I don't care what I got to do as long as I'm catching these fish.
Cadence is proving to be everything. And combined with the on-screen scrolling and memory cache of Keith's and Ron's Lowrance units, they are able to entice even the pickiest of walleyes into playing ball.
I got him. Ooh, this is a good fish. Almost wasn't holding on to the rod hard enough.
Of course, in contrast, it's always a bonus when you get the fish that don't need any convincing, provided you can act quickly enough to keep them on the line.
He just hammered it. I mean, pounded it. Nice rod bend here. Alrighty. Ooh, there's a swivel. He's about 2 feet behind that. Ooh, there he is. Came cruising by. Come on, back up just a little, buddy. Back up just a little. Come on. Oh, there he is. Look at the size of this thing. Unreal. I mean, this is so much fun. Look at this guy. He's got a little bit of a sway back to him, or a humpback kind of deal to him. That's all right. He's still put on the weight. It probably happened when he was really young. He's learned to live with it. And my goodness. I mean, he just, I can't, it just, boom! There's no way I could miss that bite. Especially when you're fishing with like nanofill like this, a no stretch line. Man, it just comes right up to the rod. And I almost set that too hard. I almost lost the rod right out of my hand, but I got him. So I've always wanted to come out to Lake Erie ice fishing for big walleyes, but one of my concerns has always been safety out here. You know, Lake Erie just isn't known for very good ice. In fact, a lot of years it doesn't have any ice. So as I was planning this trip out here, there were a few things that I took into account and some equipment that I'm going to tell you about that'll actually help you be safer out on the ice, not only here on Lake Erie, but anywhere you ice fish. The first thing to consider is the type of vehicle you're going to come out here with. I prefer to use a snowmobile, and one of the main reasons I do that is because if you do encounter a small crack, you can easily go over it with a snowmobile. With something like a four-wheeler, it's very easy to dump your front tires in, then break the edge of the ice and turn into a real situation. So snowmobile is my choice. Next thing is look for and carry a good chisel, you know, or spud. Now the way we use this is a lot of times if you're looking ahead and you see kind of an iffy area, simply hop off your snowmobile. A person weighs a lot less than a sled. Go out in front of that and just be chiseling along in front of you to see if that spud drives through the ice. Obviously if it does, slowly work your way back and get away from that area. The next thing that I would probably look at is the type of clothing you're wearing. Now for most people, what I would suggest is something like these inflatable life jackets. Very easy to put on, comfortable to wear all day, and if you would happen to get in the water, it's going to help you out, keeping you up on top of the water. The thing I wear is something called a lift suit. Now, although this is not a Coast Guard approved suit, I can still wear this out on the ice because I know it will help keep me up on top of the water if I would happen to go in, making it easier for me to get back on the ice and then back into shore. So the last thing we should look at is a kind of a cool piece of equipment. This is called a nebulous. What it is basically an inflatable raft. This raft is tethered down to the frame of this machine. So if I would happen to fall in the water with my machine, although the machine might sink, this raft will inflate when you pull this handle, and it'll actually suspend that machine below the water. So that makes it a little bit easier to retrieve. But more importantly, this raft is then big enough to hold one or even maybe two people up on it once you're in the water. So there's a lot of cool equipment that you can use to help keep yourself safe out on the ice. The important thing though is to use common sense. If the ice conditions aren't safe, there's no walleyes, even as big as these walleyes are on Lake Erie, that are worth risking your life out in unsafe ice conditions.
Hot topics, leading information, and tackle and techniques to make you a better angler. Presented by Mercury.
In the larger deep feed boats for walleye fishing, the trend is going more and more to big fiberglass boats. Fiberglass gives you great rough water running ability, good top end speed, but you do need a little bit larger engine to push these boats because they're also quite a bit heavier. The one thing that's also a little bit tricky is the propping. A couple of years ago, Mercury Racing came out with the Bravo 1 FS prop, FS for 4-stroke. This prop was custom made for bigger, heavier boats like this, or deep feed, big water walleye boats. Now what the prop brings to the table is something special. It's got a little bit of a shorter barrel right here. That allows for the prop to give both back end lift to the hull and front end lift. The whole boat actually lifts up out of the water when you start trimming it up. That's a great attribute because it gives you good top end speed, but the 4 blades of the prop give you a tremendous hole shot. So you've got literally the best of both worlds. You've got a prop that can get the bigger, heavier boat out of the hole, but give you good performance. It's got a very sophisticated leading edge system, ending up in the perfect cupping to handle these heavier boats. Last year, Mercury came out with odd sizes too. So you've got the 19, 20, 21, and 22 pitch props that you can play with to really fine tune and zero in your rig for the ultimate in performance.
This unseasonably thick Lake Erie ice has made way for some unbelievably giant walleyes for professional tournament angler Keith Cavaius.
Definitely a bucket list fish there. I mean, that's probably one of the biggest fish I've ever caught in the ice.
Fellow Nitro Boats team member Ron Rhodes.
Oh, hey, Keith, hurry up, Keith. You got a big one.
Keith said from the very start that getting out on Lake Erie with safe ice was on his bucket list for fishing walleyes.
Nice one, huh?
And their success so far, jigging glide baits and spoons over a mud flat on the western side of Lake Erie,
We're up this other line.
Sure.
Is that big?
Yeah, it feels good.
is nothing short of a big, fat check mark.
He ramboed it, buddy. He ramboed it.
I think we got this other line. He's stuck. There, he's free.
There he goes. Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, is that a big fish? You got 2 lures in him.
Look at that pig.
You got 2 lines in your there.
Yeah.
But look at the size of that fish.
gorgeous.
Now that is just an absolute great reason right there why you might withstand a little bit of weather this year. Come out to Lake Erie, man. But I mean, these fish are just cruising. They're going back towards their spawning area. They're cruising around these big flats, and you just got to be a little bit patient, don't you?
Yeah, we had to wait a little bit.
I mean, we went through a lot of fish, just a little bit of sun popping out now, and all of a sudden they're hitting a lot harder. I mean, God, what a gorgeous fish.
Yeah, she ramboed it hard.
You know, it's cold enough out here. We ain't gonna let her out here too much longer.
Yeah.
Get her down in the hole. And
Oh yeah.
nice.
Yeah,
really
she's
nice.
gorgeous.
Give her a little chance here to get going. She'll go. There she goes. Bucket list? Check. You know, it's not really worth it to go out, even for the biggest walleyes, if you're going to turn it. You can actually be pretty safe on the water, and sometimes I don't know where I'm going to end it though. This is part of our walleye. Coming. Get it. Now it's just a lot thicker. It's a big old blob sitting there. Oh, you notices maybe it's a fish. He jigs it one time. There it is.
The Next Bite would like to thank Ron Rhodes of Fantastic Charters. For more information on Ron and details about his guiding services and contact information, please visit fantasticwaleyecharters.com.